Hello, everybody. This week's material is going to reflect on what social media tell us about media's reality function. That is, we're going to be thinking about ways of considering how social media have influenced the social world. But then we're also going to consider how this particular form of influence reflects kinds of media influence that people have been interested in for quite some time. And in particular, we're going to be thinking about how we can connect questions of social media influence to questions of cultural power. And we're going to be doing that through what might seem like a slightly quirky case study, which is the phenomenon of mourning. What we're going to suggest is that one of the places where we can see the impact of social media in the contemporary world is in the way that social media influence how we make sense of death, how we commemorate how we commemorate death, how we participate in the rituals that we've built around death, and indeed how social media have taken some of the rituals that societies have placed around death that have been in place for quite some time and really led them in different directions. And the point we're going to make is that the best way to approach the influence and the importance of social media is to consider how social media connect with ways of communicating that have been in place, which are really central to the operation of society and have been for some time. So, the essential point we're going to make is that before we get to thinking about doing a research project on social media, we need to appreciate how social media reflects questions about the relationship between culture, society, and communication. What we're going to be talking about is the way that communication becomes a vital component of any society, and the way that communicating about death has been an exemplar of the importance of communication that writers have been interested in for well over 100 years. And therefore, we can see ways that the presence of digital media, social media, have changed the way that we make sense of death and indeed the way that we prepare for death. And these changes have been really quite profound over the last couple of decades, I guess, the last decade in particular. And these changes are now the subject of significant research in Australia in particular. But the best way of explaining why that is the case is to understand how that research picks up on some of the ideas about media reality that have been in place for some time. And those ideas, I think, can be connected to the idea of the media ritual. So one of the things that we're going to be doing in this section, in this particular week, is we're going to be thinking about the relationship between social rituals and media rituals. What are social rituals? Why do we have them? What do they do in society? And how do those rituals change when media get involved? And one of the things we're going to be seeing is that the commemoration of death is one of the areas where that transition from the ritual to the media ritual can really be seen with great clarity. That is, we've got a set of rituals, we've got a set of things that we do that give death a particular meaning in society. And we know that those meanings are variable because we know that the rituals that we build around death have changed over the years. So mourning in itself is a ritual. And what that allows us to do is to see how social media represent a particular view on how media shape reality. Because what social media have done is that they've taken a set of rituals, a set of practices that have been around that we've been using to make sense of death for a long time now, and they lead those rituals in new directions. They give them a new shape. They change how we engage with death. They change who engages with death and practices of mourning, and they change the existence of death as an industry apart from anything else. So, studying the impact of social media on mourning is a great way of illustrating a fundamental point, which is that social media affects society through turning rituals into media rituals. And in that sense, we can connect the effects of social media with some research projects and questions that have been around for a longer time. And then the final thing is that we're going to understand that the particular ideas, the notion of the social media affordance, the particular aspect of social media technologies that allow social media to do things that other technologies have not been able to do, how that notion of the affordance can be explained in relation to the transition from the ritual to the media ritual. And then finally, I'm just a bit worried I'm going to depress everybody too much. We're going to be thinking about some other places where we can think about the role of social media in making reality through ritualistic practices that are a bit more upbeat. And we're going to be talking about memes at the end. So that's the broad map of what we're going to be doing this week. And in the next video, I'll be talking to you a bit about the connection between culture and communication and how anything that social media do in society and any project that we might do about social media in society sits within those concepts and the connection between culture and communication.